Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Unify Your Data Estate on a single AI-ready data lake session at Microsoft Build. I'm Dipti Borkar here with the OneLake and Fabric teams, and excited to share a lot of information about OneLake and Fabric with you. So let's jump right in. OneLake, if you can think of it that way, is the OneDrive for data. Not only does it unify data that's in your Microsoft managed estate, for example, Fabric, of course, with all its various engines, the Azure and on-prem estate could be ADLS and others, the business productivity tools, SharePoint as well, maybe on-prem, other clouds, S3, GCP, and many, many other data providers, all with zero ETL, different mechanisms that exist, and we'll walk through it. We'll walk through both shortcuts and mirroring and how you can unify this data estate. Now, once your data is in OneLake and you have this in a single place, it's a single pane of glass, you can then access this information in many, many different places across the Microsoft ecosystem. Through Teams, through Fabric, through Foundry, OneLake is deeply integrated across all of these estates, all the way in Excel, where the OneLake hub can be opened up and you can bring in your structured data into Excel as well. So unify your data in OneLake and make it available within your Microsoft estate. But that's not it. That's not where we stop. You can, with OneLake, the data is completely open. We'll hear about the open formats in just a bit. We support both Delta and Iceberg. And with these open formats, you can have data access through many, many different projects, products, and services, from open source products like DuckDB to Databricks, Snowflake, ServiceNow, Salesforce, ClickHouse, and many, many others. And so the goal of OneLake is truly giving you that unification of data, especially for the AI age, where you need not just data, but also context and make it accessible everywhere. Now, the OneLake ecosystem is extremely vibrant. There are many, many different types of systems that integrate into OneLake. You can integrate in natively. For example, Josh will talk about how Databricks and Snowflake can integrate in natively and read and write directly on top of OneLake, bringing in your data into OneLake and then being accessible in many different places. Or you can integrate using the catalog mechanisms, catalog federation, if you call it, Iceberg REST catalogs, etc. And there's a large range of services that fall into that category. In addition, of course, OneLake integrates with the data movement projects and products as well. Informatica, Fivetran, and others integrate with OneLake so that you can bring in data natively into OneLake from many, many different places. And there's many others. It's a vibrant ecosystem. It's continuously growing. And if you're a builder, we look forward to you integrating with OneLake as well. Now, let's talk a little bit about the customers that are on OneLake. OneLake is the foundation for Microsoft Fabric. Microsoft Fabric is a single product that provides everything you need for managing your data, exploring your data, bringing in insights from your data, and making it AI ready. And every customer of Fabric is also a OneLake customer. So this is 35,000 plus paying customers, which are on Fabric and on OneLake. And over 80% of the Fortune 500 use OneLake as well as Fabric. And it's phenomenal to see the momentum that we've been seeing. The service itself, the OneLake service, has 48 billion interactions per day. It's pretty tremendous. We have a very, very strong reliability, of course, for serving up these interactions. As I talked about, there's a lot of this is using zero copy. And so we have a mechanism for shortcuts that we'll get into. 9.4 million active shortcuts that are already created on OneLake across the ecosystem. This is within OneLake itself. It might be from S3, AWS S3, GCP, on-prem, many, many different sources. So phenomenal to see the momentum where customers are truly trying to unify their data and build that single pane of glass to see all of it and manage it. And in terms of growth, it's growing at 4x year over year from a storage perspective. So if you haven't started off with OneLake yet, let's get started and try it out. Lots of different customers. If you haven't started off with OneLake yet, take a look at our Fabric featured customer list. But there are three in particular that I wanted to call out. Lumen, where OneLake allowed them to ingest all the data once and then use it anywhere. So this beauty of a single pane of glass is what they benefited from. The London Stock Exchange Group, Fabric is their data as a service is built on Fabric, and the interoperability between Snowflake and Databricks and others, and the openness of OneLake is really what got them to adopt it. And then finally, AP Pension, where they eliminated the ETL and the E and the L and really just left the transformation in there with our mirroring capabilities. Now, the core of OneLake has 4 different aspects, and we'll jump into it right after this. So you have the unified data estate, which we touched on a little bit. It's completely open and allows you to access data from many different platforms. It's truly built to be AI ready, and we'll see how it integrates with Foundry and many other aspects, many other products. And all of this comes with a unified layer, discovery and governance with OneLake security. And so we'll touch on that in just a minute. But to jump into this, let me invite Josh. Josh, why don't you take it over and take us through these pillars across OneLake?
All right, thanks, Dipti. Let's get into it. So it's been a really exciting past few years. We started with all these customers who were dealing with these data silos across the organization. They could not get the data they need. They could not blend together the data they need. And OneLake really came in like a wrecking ball and busted open these silos, freed the data, and unified it all into a single logical lake. Now, with OneLake, there's always one lake per organization. You can never have more than one. You can never have less than one. It's always there. This is one of the ways we avoid silos. All data shows up in OneLake in open formats. It can be automatically indexed and scanned, and it's always protected by OneLake security. Now, bringing your data estate to OneLake can be very easy. There are 2 ways to bring data to OneLake. The first, and probably the easiest way, is just to connect your existing data estate. Here you can connect your data no matter where it lives without any data movement or any data duplication. There's no migration. This can include data in Azure or other clouds or on-prem. Here you manage your existing storage resources, but you get all the same benefits and features of OneLake without any movement. Additionally, you can physically store your data in OneLake. We manage over 3 million storage accounts today for our users. This is what really makes us the OneDrive for data. OneLake automatically handles the scale and the throughput as your needs change, all without you having to manage your individual storage resources. No matter how the data gets to OneLake, whether you connect it or you store it there, all the functionality is the same after that. So we've made a lot of improvements on how we physically store data in OneLake. Since launch, Microsoft Fabric has always stored its data within OneLake. And we recently announced that Snowflake can now also natively store its iceberg tables in OneLake. We're also pleased to announce that now Azure Databricks is in preview with storing its data in OneLake as well. And this is in addition to anything else that can talk to Azure Storage. OneLake exposes the same ADFS and blob APIs, so any service that knows how to talk to storage can natively read or write to OneLake. And we've been busy on making this native storage better over the years. Most recently, we've been stepping up our enterprise security. So generally available today is data encryption with customer managed keys when your data is at rest. We also have diagnostic logs with immutable storage, so you can see and debug and everything that's happening within your entire data lake. And network security has gotten a lot stronger. We now support workspace level private links, outbound access protection, workspace firewall, and now very new is the ability to do resource instance rules and specify specific Azure services that allow to connect to your data. You can learn more with the Fabric Security white paper. Let's look at a quick demo of all the storage improvements that we've just released.
Let's take a look at some of the new OneLake storage features. Starting here in this workspace. It's busy, it's real, and it looks like what most teams run in production. This is exactly where OneLake shines because all your data is together in one place, making it easy to manage things like cost and security without managing separate systems. One easy way to see how everything comes together is through an experience many of you already know, Windows File Explorer. With the OneLake File Explorer application, you can see everything in this workspace across all these different item types. They show up as folders and files in a single consistent view. From here, I can bring data in by dragging files. Or I could be using OneLake APIs or connect ingestion tools. I'm not provisioning a storage account. I'm not setting up infrastructure first. I'm just putting data where it belongs. Now that my team has been running on Fabric for a while, storage has been growing, and the question that keeps coming up is, what is driving that growth, and where is the cost coming from? To answer that, I'm excited to show the new OneLake storage report for this workspace. Now, instead of guessing, you can see item-level storage. You can immediately spot which items are driving the majority of your storage footprint. It's easy to understand what is in the total, including things that aren't always top of mind like soft-deleted data and system folders used by workloads for logs, metadata, and temporary data. I can clearly see I have a lakehouse that contains 4 terabytes of bronze data. I know I need to keep it for compliance reasons, but we rarely touch it after the first few days. That is a very common pattern at scale. But what if you could keep the data but lower your storage cost? This is where the new OneLake storage tiers and lifecycle management policies really make a difference. You can automatically move infrequently used data into cool or cold tiers so you save on storage costs, and you pay higher transaction prices only when you actually access that data. OneLake makes this easy by providing default tiering rules, and I can customize these rules if needed. So now that you can see where storage is going, you can act on it in the same place, without building separate lifecycle tooling. Putting your data in OneLake also brings together all your management capabilities in one place. And cost control is just one part of the story. OneLake includes enterprise-grade features like diagnostics events, which capture who accesses your OneLake data and can even make it immutable. You can set network protection rules, and you can use encryption with customer-managed keys. Everything is there for you to manage your data end-to-end.
That demo shows some of the recent improvements that we've just released. Let's do a little recap. The OneLake File Explorer is now generally available, along with the OneLake MCP. In public preview now is the new item size reporting, and probably our biggest announcement, lifecycle management with data tiering is now available. Those are all the great new improvements we've done for physically storing data in OneLake. Let's look at all the improvements we've done for connecting your existing data estate. For that, I'm going to bring Hyong up here.
Thank you, Josh. Now in this section, we're going to cover how you could unify your data estate with shortcut and mirroring. Now shortcuts are super cool. It allows you to connect to your data wherever it is. More importantly, there's no data movement, and you could use shortcut to connect data that is on premises or in any cloud. Now mirroring, on the other hand, allows you to bring your entire data catalog into OneLake. And if you're connecting to some of these data sources like Oracle, SQL Server, whether it's on premises in the cloud, it leverages the underlying change data capture capability to make sure that you have an up-to-date mirrored database. Now, shortcut mirroring combined are super cool, and it's allowing you to unify your data estate into OneLake. Now, since we shipped shortcut and mirroring a while ago, we're so excited that now there's lots of data sources that's generally available. Now, whether it's the SQL family or product from SQL Server 25 to on-premises SQL Server and many, many more. At the same time, shortcut mirroring allows you to connect to data sources like Snowflake, Oracle Database, SAP DataSphere. And more recently, we brought shortcut and mirroring for SharePoint and OneDrive. Super exciting. Now, lots of these data sources are generally available, and you can leverage them in order for you to bring all of this data, whether it's with data movement or no data movement, into OneLake for all your analytics needs. Now today, lots more are in public preview. We're so excited to share some of these new data sources, including support for Dremio, Azure Monitor, and coming soon, support for AWS Glue. Now, one of the top customer asks for mirroring is really the support for Workspace Private Link. Now, with mirroring support for Workspace Private Link, it allows you to bring private link network security to your mirrored database. But more importantly, all your traffic is routed through Microsoft private network and not the public internet. Now, this has been one of the top customer asks for mirrored database for a while, and we're so excited to bring this to public preview today. Now, today, mirroring support for Workspace Private Link includes support for Azure Cosmos DB, Azure SQL Managed Instance, which is SQL MI, as well as SQL Server 2025. Now, we can't wait to see how you will use mirrored database with Workspace Private Link, and lots more data sources are coming. Now, next, we're going to talk about shortcut transformation. Now, shortcut transformation are super cool, and it allows you to enrich your data with native AI capabilities in OneLake. Today, this is generally available, and what it enables you to do is you can point to source folders that's on OneLake and start adding defined AI transformation. And it will continuously auto-track the changes in the source and sync this with the destination and enriching the data with native AI at the same time. Now, we're super excited to share some of these new improvements to shortcut transformation, including the ability for you to preview and define schemas, one of the top customer asks as well, and to manage your transformation with detailed logs so that you can understand what is happening underneath the hood with enhanced monitoring. Now, you have not checked out shortcut transformation yet, I encourage you to check it out. Now, this just shows you at a glance all the kind of shortcut transformation that's possible, whether it's converting formats like from Parquet to table, Excel to table, and many, many more, or enriching your data with AI, whether it's PII detection, whether it's translation, whether it's providing a summary of your text, sentiment analysis, name recognition, and many, many more. We can't wait to see how you're going to use shortcut transformation. And with that, let us see a demo of, what does it mean to get to a OneLake unified estate. Let us play the demo.
I start in Fabric with a very basic task flow. I store some data, analyze and visualize it, and then I set up some alerting. Now, let me show you why this is such a basic architecture. Take a look at my lakehouse. All shortcuts to several different sources. Most are databases. But let's be honest, not all your critical data lives in a database. Some of it lives in a SharePoint list. I see some of you nudging your coworkers right now. Yeah, I'm talking to you. So I work for 𝗲𝗲, and 𝗲𝗲 is opening 15 new stores this quarter, some in Atlanta, Chicago, Seattle, Miami, all across the country. And how does the ops team track every store's readiness, staffing, build-out status? In a SharePoint list. And honestly, it's the right tool for this. Collaborative, accessible, the whole team lives there. But the problem is, how do I get the data out? How do I get the data where I can analyze it? This means exports, CSV files, maybe some Power Automate if someone is feeling particularly heroic on a Friday. But today, we are announcing SharePoint list mirroring. To get started, it's simple, like any other mirroring. So what you want to do is first you create a mirrored SharePoint online list item. Enter the URL for your site or select an existing connection. Then select your list from the available data. You can also have it automatically mirror future tables. I'm not going to do that for now. Just click connect, finally name your mirror item, and click the create button. After a few moments, the item is created and the mirror starts. See, 195 rows already replicated. Now, let's jump to my lakehouse. Remember, this is a minimal and low code approach. Instead of pipelines and notebooks, I create a shortcut to the SharePoint list that's mirrored in my mirrored item, and the data is available in my lakehouse. No pipeline, no copy job, it just shows up. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. That same 𝗲𝗲 team also has an Excel workbook, the regional budget and forecast. Build out costs, marketing spend, projected revenue per store, all stored in the Excel workbook. You know this file. Every organization has it. It's where half the company's decisions actually get made. Critical business data living in a spreadsheet. But today, I've been waiting to show you this. Starting today, Excel shortcuts in OneLake. Watch what that means. You create an Excel shortcut like any other shortcut. What's the difference is that Fabric detects it's an Excel file. You have options at this point. I'm simply going to enter the sheet number, accept the other defaults, and click next. Then you give it a shortcut name, and then the magic happens. No notebooks, no data flows, no data engineering required. Every sheet becomes a first-class table in your lakehouse. 2 sources, 1 lakehouse, 0 friction. Now let me show you why this matters. Let's go look at the Power BI report built on top of this lakehouse. Look at this. I've got store readiness and staffing percentages all in one report. SharePoint list data sitting right next to Excel workbook data, visualized together like they were always meant to be. This is the single pane of glass everyone's been asking for. But here's the thing. A report is only as good as the data behind it, and we all know data changes constantly. So let's put this to a real test. Let's say the Chicago store just finished hiring. The regional manager updates the staffing numbers right here in Excel, the two they already know and love. I'm going to bump Chicago staffing up. Done. No ceremony, no special processes, just a normal Tuesday for the ops team. Now the store manager sees that staffing is complete, so they hop into the SharePoint list, the same list the whole team has been living in, and they update Chicago status to ready to open. Staffing 100%. 2 different people, 2 different tools, updating the same story from different angles. This is how work actually happens in organizations. Nobody stopped to think about data pipelines. Nobody filed a ticket with IT. They just did their jobs. Now watch this. I go back to the report, hit refresh, and there it is. Chicago ready to open, fully staffed, budget on track. The Excel data flowed through, the SharePoint list data flowed through, everything landed in the lakehouse and lit up the report. No CSV files, no Power Automate workflows, no Friday afternoon heroics. This is what it looks like when your entire data estate just works. SharePoint lists, Excel workbooks, databases, all flowing into one lakehouse, all powering one set of reports. The tools your team already uses now connected to the analytics platform that drives decisions. That's the power of Microsoft Fabric.
Now, super exciting demo that you just seen. We can't wait to see how you use shortcut transformation. And now I'm going to hand it back to Josh to continue the rest of the presentation. Back to you, Josh.
Awesome. Thank you, Hyong. So we've unified our entire data estate. Let's move on to the next pillar, open access. Remember, we've broken down those silos. We've brought everything into a single logical lake. Now we unify for a purpose. We bring data together so that we can use it in lots and lots of places. All data in OneLake is available throughout the entire Microsoft ecosystem. We have deep integrations with products like Foundry, Power BI, Office, and Excel, as well as Copilot. But these integrations extend well beyond Microsoft. This data can be used with dozens of services outside of Microsoft, including Databricks, Snowflake, and Salesforce. Now, a key principle of OneLake is what we call one copy. One copy is the principle that you can use one copy of data across multiple engines. This separates the decision of how you want to create your data, how you want to create your lake, from how you want to consume it. You can have a team that prefers to use stored procedures and T-SQL to build a data warehouse. Or you can have a team that prefers to use Python and notebooks to build a lakehouse. It all ends up as data in OneLake that can be consumed by any engine to look at that data. That data can be consumed within Fabric, Databricks, or anywhere that can read an open data format. Now, we've always shared data through OneLake. Recently, we released the OneLake Table API to make sharing of metadata even easier. OneLake now exposes the same open source APIs for both Delta Lake and Iceberg natively as part of OneLake. So any application like Snowflake, like Databricks, that knows how to work with at least one of those formats can read all, and I mean all data that's available within OneLake, no matter how that data was written, no matter what format that data is in. It can be used with any Iceberg or Delta Lake compliant application now using these table APIs. We have some new announcements on the table APIs. Generally available has been the ability to read metadata through the table APIs. And now we're announcing the ability to write metadata, create tables, create schemas, update or publish transactions now through the table API. This is available today. OneLake is available not just through a set of APIs, it's deeply integrated into all the Microsoft ecosystem. So there are dedicated experiences with Microsoft Foundry, within Excel, within SharePoint, where you can see this data and use it directly. OneLake data literally is everywhere. And OneLake data is everywhere for AI. OneLake is your AI-ready data lake. It turns out when we freed data from those silos, data wasn't the only thing that was stuck inside. It was also the knowledge, the context that went along with that data. Different people working in different organizations had this context in their heads and stayed within those silos. This is where Microsoft IQ and Fabric IQ come in. It lets you free the data from those silos, encapsulate that context, along with the data, and unify it all in OneLake. Once all together, data and context in OneLake, you can distribute both to all the data and applications that need it. So no longer are you just getting data, you're getting data with the knowledge to how best work with that data and empowering your agents. And it's OneLake that spans all databases, all clouds, and it has the semantic models to bring your analytical intelligence. It has the ontologies to bring your operational intelligence. It really is the best source of knowledge to ground your AI applications. To tell us more about this, I want to bring up Miquella here.
Thank you, Josh. So as Josh mentioned, OneLake already brings together unified data, business intelligence, and operational intelligence. But what is new is that we're now making that data usable across a full set of AI consumers, from Fabric and Foundry to Copilot Studio and partner tools. When we make this data available through all these AI experiences, this data is actually never copied, but it's made available through a common data foundation with shared context and intelligence on top of it. But a lot of enterprise data is actually not in structured tables. It lives in documents, PDFs, and SharePoint sites. For example, think of customer conversations, contracts, and invoices. This data is extremely valuable for AI. Using OneLake, you can unify both your structured and unstructured data all in one place, and with support from many different sources like SharePoint and Amazon S3, all without data replication. And to make this even more useful, we're bringing the OneLake catalog natively integrated into Foundry. You can now discover all of your trusted enterprise data into one place and immediately use it inside of knowledge and agents and in any of your AI workloads. It contains the full capabilities of the OneLake catalog for discoverability. Think of sensitivity labels and endorsements. This creates a consistent view of data across your entire estate of analytics and AI by having it available across Fabric and Foundry. So now let me actually show you what this looks like for enterprise unstructured data. Most organizations already have a huge amount of valuable unstructured data sitting in SharePoint. That includes business documents, PDFs, and of course, Excel files. The challenge is that this content often contains some of the most important business context, but is usually disconnected from analytics and AI. Now, moving over to my lakehouse in Microsoft Fabric, I can bring all of that data together in OneLake. Here, my unstructured SharePoint files can live alongside my structured data, and because I'm using OneLake shortcuts, the files are virtualized into place. There is no copy, no data movement, and no extra duplication to manage. I can also unify this with data from other sources, including multi-cloud data from S3 NetApp files that are network protected, or from Azure Blob Storage, where I have my customer support transcripts. So instead of creating another data silo, OneLake gives me one logical data layer across my organization's data. Now I want to use this data to build an AI agent. In Microsoft AI Foundry, I can use knowledge to index this context and make it available for grounding. This indexing step is important because it turns raw files into searchable, retrievable knowledge that the agent can use to answer questions with the right business context. As part of Foundry Knowledge, OneLake Catalog is natively integrated. Here, I can search across available data, see what has been endorsed in my organization, and use signals like sensitivity labels to understand which data is trusted and ready to use. This lakehouse is promoted, so I know it is intended for broader use and is ready to power AI experiences. From here, I can directly add this OneLake knowledge source to my agent. And now I can start asking business questions like, what are my best-selling products and how can I improve my sales? That is the value of bringing OneLake, Fabric, and Foundry together. You can connect to business data where it already lives, unify structured and unstructured data without copying it, discover trusted data through the OneLake catalog, and use it natively in Foundry to build grounded AI agents. So this was a quick demo of how you can unify both Fabric and Foundry together. Back to you, Josh.
Thanks, Miquella. So remember, we've unified our entire data estate. and we unified for a purpose, so we can access it from anywhere, including AI. Now, to access from anywhere, we need to secure and govern that data. OneLake Security is now generally available, and OneLake Security really changes the game here. We went for a world where the most capable security was at the edges. It was in our presentation layers. It was in our database engines. And we had different engines for we had different security for every single engine. Now we've unified this. We've unified all our data in the lake, and we're able to use one copy of data across multiple engines. We need to do the same with our security, and that's what OneLake Security does. It takes all the engine-specific capabilities like row-level security, column-level security, and moves it down to the data lake. So now you can define your security definitions once. Those security definitions now live with the data in the lake and are enforced everywhere that data is used, no matter which engine you use it in. This is the power of OneLake Security. Let's look at OneLake Security in action.
Let's look at how 𝗲𝗲 can use OneLake Security to secure their data once and have it be enforced consistently throughout Fabric. Sarah is the platform admin and is looking to consolidate 𝗲𝗲's sales data into OneLake. She starts by setting up a mirror database to pull the customers and sales data into OneLake. Now that the data is in OneLake, she can create OneLake security roles to control access to the sensitive data. She starts by creating a role for the business users. She calls the role non-PII and chooses the tables to include. She then configures CLS to remove email and phone from the customer's table. She adds Patrick as a member and saves it. For the data science team, she creates another role called Data Science No EU, which allows the PII data but restricts access to the EU rows for compliance reasons. Both Diego and Priya are members of this role. With the roles created, Priya, a data scientist at 𝗲𝗲, can now access this data from the 𝗲𝗲 Analytics workspace. She first verifies that the data she needs is available using the SQL endpoint. A quick query confirms the tables are reachable and that her identity is being honored. She sees only her allowed rows. Priya then pulls the data into her own lakehouse by creating shortcuts to the 𝗲𝗲 DB. She then queries it using Spark, joining the sales and customer tables to analyze the results. Notice that the EU rows are restricted seamlessly, keeping the data secure while allowing Priya to use the data for machine learning. Diego is a sales manager and needs to create a semantic model for business users to consume the sales data. He builds the semantic model directly over the mirrored tables using direct-link mode. The important part happens behind the scenes. The OneLake security roles defined by Sarah are pulled into the model automatically. Next, Diego goes to create reports for his team over the semantic model using Power BI. He creates a table of the customers and their order amounts, and then pulls in a chart for sales amounts over time. Notice that the order table automatically hides the EU customers from him since Diego is a member of the No EU role. Patrick is a business analyst on the same team as Diego. He uses the OneLake catalog to find the report Diego built. He opens the report to check on some orders but notices that the sales table is disabled. This is because he is in the non-PII role and can't view the customer phone number. He prefers to do analysis in Excel anyways, so he again uses the OneLake catalog to find the semantic model and analyze it in Excel. But just like with the report itself, OneLake Security automatically hides the PII columns from him. He can still interact with the model and build the pivot table, but OneLake Security keeps the sensitive columns hidden. That's the promise of OneLake Security. Secure your data once and have it be enforced everywhere.
That's a great demo. I want to announce the public preview of OneLake Security for Event House. This joins the already existing engines within Fabric that can have OneLake Security enforced across the board. OneLake Security is part of the OneLake catalog, which makes up the final piece of OneLake. OneLake catalog exposes all this data for discovery and governance and is trusted by over 240,000 organizations worldwide. To learn more about the OneLake catalog, check out the session from Kim Manus. And to learn more about OneLake, please check out the links below. Thank you for your time today. I hope you've learned a lot about OneLake and you feel ready to bring your data and build the single unified data lake for your entire organization.